I've heard of so many paranormal cases, but this has got to be the weirdest one out of all of them, mainly because of how many people are witnessed of this happening. So this lady, Pachita, she used to give open surgery to patients with no anesthesia. They were wide awake. She would do it just with her knife, her kitchen knife. She'd put her hands inside the patients and take out the unhealthy organs, and then out of nowhere, she would take a healthy organ and just put it back in its place. She would just close the flap, put some bandage around the patient, and in 4 hours, if everything was well, she would send the patient home. And she doesn't give credit to herself. She gives credit to Cuauhtémoc, the last Mexica Aztec emperor. Welcome to Curiosity Cabinet, and this one is a really strange case. Today we're going to talk about Pachita. She was born in the early 1900s in a town in Chihuahua called Parral. She lived in a poor family and she worked as a cabaretera. She would sing in the buses. She had a natural gift since she was little for curing with herbs.
Pachita had a mentor. He was a man named Charles who taught her spiritual healing and introduced her to astrology and mystical practices. Her incredible abilities included psychic surgery, where she would perform surgeries without anesthesia using only a small knife, allegedly removing deceased tissue or organs that would reappear in her hands. Spiritual connection as well.
She didn't give credit to herself. She would give credit to her little brother, who was Cuauhtémoc, the last Mexica emperor.
If I'm not mistaken, she called him Hermanito.
Hermanito, yeah, which means like little brother.
Mm-hmm.
Onichan, how they would say in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine this. She'd be in a dark room with just candles everywhere. She'd go like this. And then she'd be a completely different person. She'd speak differently. She'd be Cuauhtémoc from then on. And he'd be the one leading the whole surgery. Which is interesting. I don't know if you've heard this, but apparently in Native American traditions too, people who heal is not them who heal, but it's their ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
It's like sort of possession, but not a negative one. It's like borrowing their power from the past.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Absolutely. Kind of reminds me of, so a couple of years ago, I went and did ayahuasca in Peru. And when they're singing the Icaros, they say that they are overtaken by a spirit. So with the ayahuasca, they also call it mother ayahuasca. They say that it's a spirit. I don't know if it's a plant spirit or a spirit of their ancestors that comes into your body. So it reminds me a lot of that. It also reminds me of a few other stories that I've heard. There was a story of an African man. I believe it was in the 1940s or 50s. He was also a healer like this as well. And it's kind of similar to the story of Jesus even, where they said he had healing abilities, the ability to heal people just by touching them.
And he'd be borrowing basically God's power to be his father. No, it's interesting, huh?
Absolutely.
The same beliefs are happening in different parts of the world.
Definitely, yeah.
You got some in Jerusalem and a long time ago, Native America. I mean, even from Peru all the way to the US, to Canada.
Yeah.
Very similar beliefs.
Absolutely.
So she moved to Mexico City in the 70s, and she had an apartment that it would be known as La Casa de las Brujas, the House of the Witches. And apparently she would just have patients and after patient after patient with no medical studies. It's crazy to me that she even got to this point. At what point do you realize you have this gift? Who's the first person who's going to be your patient, who you're just going to cut open with no anesthesia, who's going to say, hey, sure, you can cut me open with no medical studies, and while I'm wide awake and I'm feeling everything, sure, yeah.
Those people got to be really open-minded.
Super.
And on top of that too, perhaps the perfect people for this would be people from indigenous background or people that are exposed to this type of philosophy. Because it's the healing philosophy that she had, the combined hand-on skills, indigenous wisdom, spiritual guidance. Patients would come to her and they would often recover with no scars even. It's insane. It makes you think, what was this really? For example, Jacobo Grinbeerg studied her. He proposed that her abilities might come from a deep control over her neural field, possibly allowing her to manipulate the lattice of space and time. So with that being said, his theory on her was saying that it was to do with quantum physics.
Yeah. And almost it seems like a multi-dimension theory because she would get organs out of nowhere and like healthy organs just from like a box. It'd be in the dark so you couldn't see too much.
Yeah.
And put it in her patients. Like she would apparently take out, this is according to Jacobo Grinbeerg, who was studying her for like a year or two. He found her, said, hey, I'll work for you. I want to study you. I'm interested in you.
Yeah.
And he was just there, just like helping her right beside her, getting his hands dirty. There's lots of photos and evidence. Mind you, Jacobo Grinbeerg is was one of the most respected scientists and professors here in Mexico City. He had his own lab in the Autonomous University of Mexico. He was big. He was a neurophysiologist, psychologist. The guy was different because he would study things that are not really the kind of subjects that scientists study or even believe in. This is more the paranormal, which is what made him special. He would study like telekinesis, telepathy, astrology, like all sorts of things that you just wouldn't associate with science. And a bit after researching Pachita and making his theory of synergic theory was what you were talking about, how he would just like get things, manifest things from different realities or different parts of the realities. Yeah. To put it in simple words.
How about I give a background on what it is?
Please do.
Jacobo Grinbeerg's primary theory is the synergic theory. The synergic theory suggests that reality is a hypercomplex distortion of a fundamental matrix of consciousness, or lattice of space, created by the brain's neuronal fields interacting with this matrix. This interconnected field contains all information, and individual consciousness co-creates our perceived reality by interacting with it, rather than merely observing an external one. Grinbeerg's theory aims to bridge science and spirituality, incorporating concepts from neuroscience, quantum mechanics, and ancient traditions.
Yeah, so it's some crazy shit, really. Like, this is probably the most interesting, complex science theory I've heard, which seems something like you would find in a science fiction movie, totally.
Absolutely.
That's why I find it so interesting. Now, we talked about Grinbeerg, but we didn't go too much detail how she actually does the surgeries. After being possessed by Cuauhtemoc, by her little brother, she just cut open the patients with her old kitchen knife, grab the flap, open it up, take the unhealthy organ out, put it through the wheel or something. Then from a box from who knows where, she grabbed a healthy organ, just put it back in its place, closed the flap, bandage it, and apparently in 4 hours, if everything was good, she'd send them home. And after 3 days, she would say they could take the bandage off and they can go on with their lives. She would attend all sorts of people, and Jacobo Grinbeerg was the most famous person that she attended. But she also attended a writer and director from Chile, Alejandro Jodorowsky, who actually made a book too, speaking about her. He was interested in studying magic, shamanism, sorts of healing, witchcraft, all that stuff. And she actually did surgery on him. He's not just a witness of what she did. He was a patient. She helped him. You already have two very strong witnesses there. They're not just any crazy person. I mean, Jodorowsky is definitely a little cuckoo, not gonna lie. But we have Grinbeerg, one of the most respected teachers and scientists. So this is what makes this very real. It doesn't seem like an urban legend anymore. It seems like factual, like an actual thing. Even though there are people who think it was a scam, which is always possible, right?
So despite people thinking that it might have been a scam, which is totally possible, of course, like something like this is going to leave so many different theories, assumptions, rabbit holes that people can go down, including us,
Yeah.
And even just with Jacobo Grinbeerg, the fact that she was so closely tied with him, what did he discover? Was he onto something? Did his theory perhaps figure out something that nobody else could explain up until that point? And what happened with his mysterious disappearance? That's another question. Nobody knows exactly what happened to him. I've heard theories of CIA files, different documents. Who knows if that's true either? But the fact is what was so valuable that this guy had discovered that he just vanished off the face of the earth? That, for me, leaves way too many unanswered questions. Personally believe that this case is likely true.
Me too.
I would like to believe it because Yeah, I mean, that fact and this whole entire thing just makes it so strange. The fact that he vanished.
For sure. And the CIA thing, there's actually, if you go on the CIA website, they have info on Greenberg. They have a couple of pages here, CIA.gov. The orbitals of consciousness, a neurosynergic approach to the discrete levels of conscious experience. So this was released in 2001, years after his death, and I think there was more actually. But there are pages of the CIA being like there is proof that the CIA was interested in Jacobo Grinbeerg. So that theory seems likely to me. Also, there are a witness who said that they saw Grinbeerg in the U.S. Somebody who looks just like Grinbeerg, like he had two men in suits with glasses looking by him.
I just got chills.
Men in black type of thing. And that was a little bit after he disappeared.
I literally just got goosebumps when you said that.
Creepy, huh?
I mean, it's strange. It reminds me of a lot of the cases when people have experienced things that are supposedly extraterrestrial, where these men in suits show up and they silence you. It's almost like a messed up version of the KGB. It's very strange that they have, or supposedly have, these men that show up and will silence you. That's exactly what this reminds me of.
Totally. Men in black type shit.
This is me going into a rabbit hole, but I think that this could be similar to some of those cases with extraterrestrial, when the government comes out, shows up at your house, says, don't never talk about it again. There's pictures of these men too in black and white since the 50s. They've been documenting stuff like this. And whether or not you believe it's true, once again, I personally believe this stuff is true. It's very strange. Like, what is it that they want to hide so much from us? They will go at any cost, any expense, to make sure that it is silenced, thrown under the rug.
It's actually, apparently the Men in Black, the movies are based in these guys who are in black.
And there's a crazy thing too. Like, I don't want to go too much into it, but there's this picture. It's very famous. I don't know if it's in New York or Chicago, but it's from the 50s. And somebody took a picture of one of these guys. It's very strange because these guys have like almost unhuman like features, they say. It's a bizarre theory and we can go into it for, a long time, but it reminds me a lot of this specific case. Just the silencing is very strange to me. If something isn't valuable, why silence it? How do you think she performed her psychic surgeries? Was it spiritual, miraculous, or something science can explain?
It could be like a mix of both, right? Like to us could seem just like a miracle. Well, I wouldn't say miracle, but paranormal, like magic. Like it's just out there, unnatural. But the fact that Greenberg actually made a theory and studied it and wanted to use a scientific method, his own version, to put some reasoning behind this, like find the why. I think it could be a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I don't know, just because the synergic theory to me just sounds so out there, but it could explain this totally. And actually, there's been another case, a Filipino surgeon too, who did the same thing. He would do surgeries on people with no studies, with his knife, open them up. But it's definitely out there to me. It seems supernatural. It's supernatural. But maybe those supernatural things are able to be explained in a scientific method. I don't know.
For sure.
What do you think?
Sometimes I start to wonder with like paranormal, ghosts, etc., if this stuff can be explained by science, like how we mentioned quantum physics. I've gone into this topic several times. There's only so far that I can get with this because it's one of those things that I think goes beyond the basic knowledge of human beings. But then again, I also question, how many things do human beings actually know about the world around us? And how often do we silence people that talk about things that are outside of that normal? I think that a lot of the things that go outside of that normal would explain a lot of things that happen in the world. You can watch different movies on these topics and always get a different perspective. But of course, a lot of that stuff is always going to have some sort of, let's say, kind of entertainment purpose. So it's never going to be right to the point, because I think a lot of these things too would stir up mass hysteria and craze within people if you were to spread them as widespread knowledge.
Imagine how many things before would seem like magic. So I don't know, maybe in like a few hundred years, few centuries, people are just going to be they just find a way to just be doing surgeries with no anesthesia.
Yeah.
Everyone's just getting possessed by ancient emperors and doing surgeries on people just like that with no studies.
So I had another point to add to what we're saying. It's just to put it more in depth. Another reason why I think it could be true is also because when you think of how long humans have been on this earth in comparison to when the planet and the rest of the solar system was formed, it's such a small period of time. How can we understand everything going on around us within that period of time? Perhaps it's the fact that human beings like to play God. Human beings like to apply logic to things that maybe can't be explained in logic. Perhaps the supernatural flows with nature in the way that nature never works in a straight line. And nature itself is very hard to understand because the way that we think is not how nature usually presents itself.
We really have been around for so little time, but we like to think we're all big and stuff. We're all important when everything revolves around us. We know everything. What we don't know just doesn't exist. It's just what we know, and this is it.
Definitely. There's a lot of ego that gets applied to these things. Like, I think it's easy to write off, especially stories like this. They're so easy to write off because of that. So when you hear something that's outside of the normal, the easiest thing for us to do is just go, oh, no, it's not possible. Oh, I don't believe it. But, I think it's good to keep an open mind towards this. Like the fact that we have this podcast, we were talking about these things. I hope that it inspires other people to also do the same. Keep an open mind around these subjects because you never know. There could be some time in the future, like you said, when people are performing surgeries and healing like this. It reminds me of like chi energy, where the guy will rub his hands together and you go above you like this, or Reiki, for example, where they'll heal things in your body or shift things in your body without even touching you. And this is widespread stuff.
What's that called?
Reiki.
Reiki. I haven't heard of that.
They do it with like in certain studios that do yoga, they'll do Reiki as well. And even in Asia, like in Thailand, they'll do chi. The chi energy is weird because they'll actually put their hands above you and people have reported that they feel like way better after, that it like shifts something. So perhaps like when he's talking about the energy, perhaps that is actually a thing. And it does remind me a lot of Reiki and chi because of the fact that like, I've done Reiki before and I left feeling amazing. But I've heard other stories where people have had injuries and stuff and it's gone away.
We thought, oh, wow. Magic.
And even the ayahuasca stuff, there's stories of people going there with things like, for example, my dad told me a story of a guy he knew who had Crohn's. He went and did ayahuasca and the Crohn's went away.
Wow, yeah. And I've heard people like go do ayahuasca and they have like a heavy addiction and it'll heal the addiction.
Yeah.
There's also one time I remember a coworker who said he was a chiropractor, but not the kind of chiropractor that would just like crack your body. It was like an alternative sort of chiropractor. Apparently, he would just give you a gently touch, and he would describe it as like you almost be like high, like with the touch. He'd just be like, it would be like relaxing and stuff. And he stopped doing it. He started working at Best Buy because he had Parkinson's. I don't know. I said that also seems out there to me. He said that power of that touch can even cure cancer sometimes. Which obviously is very debatable. I take it with a grain of salt.
For sure.
But yeah, there's a lot of people there's people out there who dedicate their lives to doing this.
Yeah.
Oh, there's people out there who dedicate their lives to doing this. So that to me is very interesting. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Whether it's true or not, just the fact that they're doing it out there definitely makes me at least wonder. Like, definitely attracts my curiosity.
For sure. I mean, I've always believed that there's healers. There's so many different practices that people will do that they say bring them some sort of, whether it's enlightenment or actually physical results. There's personally, I just always I believe that there's people out there with special powers. And maybe it's not like the powers you see in the Avengers or something where I'm going to shoot lasers out of my eyes and something like this. I think it's easy to kind of look at it in that same context. I think it can be easily explained maybe over time with the fact that everything on earth is energy. Us ourselves, we emit energy, aura, etc. That's all energy. So perhaps what they're doing is they're shifting something within that energy. I remember learning about atoms in school and how atoms, they're always moving. Even this table, it's not fully solid. It's made up of atoms that are moving consistently. And same with us, same with this plant, same with this microphone, same with this glass of water. And
everything.
for me, I wonder if it's a matter of like, sometimes I use these solfeggio frequencies, 528 hertz, etc. And it helps me to calm down. It helps me to feel better. I feel like something's released. Perhaps this could be explained through that. But that's just my theory on it, because like you said, you have to take it with a grain of salt. But I do believe that this is one of the things that we are kind of closed off to, because we're so focused on everything on a screen. We're so focused on all this stuff in the physical world around us, but not realizing that I don't think that's everything. I think there's a lot more behind that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We're just going to be discovering little and little and little.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe in a few hundred years, we'll be communicating telepathically.
It's
Who
possible.
knows? Yeah, it's possible.
It's one of those things I heard talked about by a few people recently. I've heard, I believe Elon Musk talked about something like that before. And I don't know if he was mentioning about the Neuralink thing, but I have heard other people have brought up a thing about speaking to each other telepathically, which is maybe it's possible. Maybe it's something that's only in, a myth, but who knows?
There are some like hippie-ish people here in Mexico City who believe they're like, they can read minds and they can communicate telepathically. But to me, those people seem more like maybe they took a little too much acid or something and now they think they can read minds.
Kind of woo-woo.
Yeah, woo,
Yeah.
Some like crack hippies type thing. There's a few of them here, actually.
Mm-hmm. Is it possible that her control over her mind and body could influence reality in ways that we don't understand yet? Perhaps if she has more control over her mind and body, she could be channeling that energy that I talked about in different ways. Perhaps she knows how to actually harness it and use it to its full capacity. Perhaps she's actually more awake than most people, or was more awake than most people in that sense, where I believe a lot of us are shut off.
I think it was like what Grinbeerg was saying, that she could manipulate reality.
Mm-hmm.
You could say she was like more in touch in that sense, like she had something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, just somehow like almost seems like Matrix type shit, like a man, or like everything happens all at once.
Yeah,
which is like kind of manifest something. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of people who are just seem naturally in touch, like those healers too, those curanderos.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Niño Fidencio, who's another famous one in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Who they actually made a church for this guy. Oh yeah, it's a Christian Fidencista church in Nuevo León. And yeah, he would be like a miracle healer too. Like he would use herbs, mud, his hands, and even like oh my god, he makes surgeries with broken glass bottles to take out tumors.
That's crazy.
Pretty hardcore. Yeah, I think these people are definitely more connected with their body and mind, and maybe even something else. I don't know.
Definitely. Broken bottles. That's crazy.
Why not use a knife?
Mm-hmm.
Like, was there no knives available?
I thought that Dr. Pimple Popper was crazy before, but I've never seen her use an open bottle or a broken bottle.
Yeah, that's hardcore.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was like a choice. Like they want to use the broken bottle, they didn't have a knife.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was the available thing. Or does he like to use the broken bottle? Does it work better? Is it like a blessed bottle? I don't know.
Maybe the glass itself was sharper than most metal.
Oh yeah, maybe.
So I wonder. That's kind of a weird thing to use a broken bottle.
Yeah, like Pachita used a knife.
Yeah,
and that to me is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But like this guy is using a broken bottle.
I guess at the very least we could say it's creative.
It's very creative for sure.
You brought up manifesting, and manifesting has a lot to do with consciousness, right? So how do you feel about the idea that consciousness itself can heal the body? I like that you brought up manifesting. How do you feel about the idea that consciousness itself can heal the body?
It's definitely out there. I can't really say I believe too much just because I don't have any experience or reason to believe so, right?
I would like to believe that consciousness can heal the body, but there's too many unanswered questions. So I have to approach it with a little bit of caution. With that being said, there's some references that I can remember from movies that remind me of this. For example, the movie Lucy with Scarlett Johansson. Another movie is Limitless with Bradley Cooper, where he takes the NZT pill and he enhances his intellectual ability and he's able to figure out all these complex problems that nobody else can seem to solve and almost see ahead. Perhaps some of these concepts from these movies could be based off of truth. Perhaps it's also just somebody else who's speculating just like we are, who wants to believe it, but is only coming up with theories or fiction. There's too many questions, like I said. I would like to keep an open mind around this, but I can't say. We got to leave that one for the big man.
I like to believe the idea where I can just kind of enter a state where I'm just, I don't know, like a super anime character, or I can just fly and do all this crazy shit, or like read minds, or I don't know. But I do remember as a kid, after watching Dragon Ball, being at school by myself, just like trying to unlock my key like they do in Dragon Ball. Yeah, definitely. I wanted to believe. I was like, okay, what if this is true? And I was just like, just concentrating, trying to get a little light between my hands, a little beam that eventually would turn to a Kamehameha. No.
It reminds me of Shaolin monks. Like
Yeah.
And with Shaolin monks, it's a really weird one, right? Because these guys can go and train themselves to get to such a point that they can train themselves to get to a point where they can literally walk on fire, walk on nails. They can do all these crazy moves too with their body. Like I seen a guy holding onto a pole, looks like almost like a broomstick, and he's completely horizontal. These
So
guys,
crazy.
I think, have harnessed some sort of thing. Like, I mean, even with monks in a state of meditation where they can just sit. In Thailand, Japan, China, there's monks that will go to these monasteries and they will sit there for a week, 2 weeks in complete silence. They can literally sit there with barely any water, barely any food, and be completely fine.
And they're just traveling the cosmos, just like outside their bodies, looking at everything, the past, the present, the future.
But think about that, though. It's a heightened consciousness, because the fact that they can do that, think about us. Think about most people that you know. How much attention would they actually have to be able to sit there like that?
Hell no, I couldn't do it. I couldn't last long without looking at my phone.
Mm-hmm.
I can't last even like an hour without looking at my phone.
Same
for
page
like
as you, man.
2 weeks
Mm-hmm.
without nothing, not eating, in the darkness too. Usually it's in the darkness, us.
Which is, it's insane, right? Because like, but there's also some aspect of it that's kind of beautiful, because
It is.
I do think that the only way that you can get there is by reaching this state of heightened consciousness. It's like getting to a point where you can basically shut off everything on the outside and just be able to sit there completely fine, completely okay, completely grounded, completely present. Actually, to be honest, on that, I would like to believe that this is all true, because that consciousness, knowing that people are able to have these abilities that might not seem so crazy because you see people doing it, but maybe that's the thing, is that there's more people doing that, so we know it's a thing.
Right.
Whereas opposed to this, it's such a rare case. And even though there's some similar cases, like you said, in the Philippines, for example, that guy in Africa, for example, even the story of Jesus being able to heal people, it's very limited. And the information we have around that's limited. Whereas for monks, we know that these practices work. Anybody that's done meditation knows it works. So, of course, you can go down a rabbit hole with that too, but there's a parallel with all of this, because this whole thing has to do with the heightened consciousness.
Yeah, the monks are so interesting to me. Crazy and beautiful at the same time, like you say. Like, I personally wouldn't want to go meditate for 2 weeks somewhere and like not doing it. I wouldn't, but I respect those who do. I can't imagine what level of consciousness you get to by doing that.
You can add some more stuff in on Pachita. Do you think modern healers or spiritual practices have been influenced by her?
There's gotta be some. I think her nephew now is doing surgeries. Or is her son? I can't remember. Let me check. Okay, yeah. So Pachita actually has a son, Enrique Ugalde, who's currently doing surgeries. Or I don't know if it's surgeries, but healing. But there's a lot of people who think that he's not legit. He charges a lot of money, which Pachita didn't. So I think he's just kind of, using her name to make business. So she has a legacy continuing just by him doing that. And I don't doubt there's other people who are influenced by her and trying to do the same thing. But again, like, it's pretty crazy. How do you even start to do surgery on people like that? That's gotta be super illegal. Imagine if you like, okay, I'm gonna try to be like Pachita. It's like, hey, Paulie, I'm gonna try it out on you. You know, I read a lot about this. I think I'm ready. And I just get the knife and I try to do a surgery on you, and then you bleed out, and then I go to jail, and then it's like, you know, like, how do you even get to that point?
Yeah.
Like, I'd be like, hell no, if somebody wanted to do surgery on me. Just like, as much as connected as they seemed, as much experience that they had, they could be like the craziest looking shaman. They could be like a chief with all the feathers and everything, like a powerful, you know, eagle calling kind of type of person. Where I would be like, hell no, not on me. Very interesting. Do it on someone else, and I'll be interested for sure, but not on me. Would you?
I'm gonna have to go with. I'm gonna have to say that's a hard no for me. I'm definitely gonna pass on that. I mean, even if you offered me 10 billion, I don't think I'll do it.
Am I how back in the 70s there was no internet? Somebody told you like, oh yeah, there's this witch who's doing surgeries in her apartment. You know, if the doctor's not helping you or you can't afford to go to a hospital, there's this option. She's helped a lot of people. She helped my friend. Would you go? You've had people telling you that she's helped them and she helps people all the time.
Maybe if I lived in the 70s, because I feel like when you don't have access to this type of information online, you're going to be a lot more naive.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, maybe.
And just imagine waiting in line and there's all these people there. It's just like an apartment in the living room in the dark. You see a person coming out with a bandage. They're like, and then the lady's like, oh, it's your turn. So you go in a bedroom. There's like a bed with blood, a knife, and a bloody knife. And there's this lady who's like, seems possessed. It's pretty crazy. It's just like,
yeah.
I'd be so terrified. Hell no. But I guess if somebody's desperate for help, they have a tumor or something, I don't know, they need the help, and the doctor's going to help them.
Perhaps if it's your last resort. I also wonder about her patients. Were her patients a lot of the time from poverty? Because I could see if you're from poverty that it might have been the best option, because there's probably low cost, if anything at all, compared to what you'd have to pay going through the whole process at the hospital and maybe not even getting the treatment that you need. So I could understand as a complete last resort, back against the wall, sure. But it's a hard one if you have the means or you know that there's other ways, right?
Totally. From what I heard, she had people from all social classes going to her. She was in the presidential area where the presidents lived in Mexico. Here, let me look this up. Fact check right now. So apparently Pachita would visit the presidential area, like where the president lived, many times.
That's crazy.
And she would like have politicians go to her probably if she's going to the president. She would go to visit the president's sister where the president lived. They'd be close together and she would teach her lessons. So it's possible that there was people, even politicians, going up to her. Maybe not because of a last resort or they didn't have another option, but maybe they were interested in in this more out there stuff, right?
Yeah.
So maybe that's why they had some sort of morbid interest to go.
I also wonder though, like this, in a way, knowing that it gives her credibility because of the fact that these people from that level would go to her, trust her, even just to go and see her do it on somebody else, perhaps, makes you wonder, right? It's very more so speculative than any concrete answer here.
It definitely makes it more valid. The fact that there's like a presidential figure, a scientist, a director and writers known, and they're all saying that they're witnesses of this, just makes it more believable, right?
Absolutely. What does her story tell us about the connection between belief, spirituality, and healing?
One thing we can take away is that most healers have someone, some sort of entity possessing them. And it's not them doing it, it's somebody else. There's one thing I can take away from this just because the same thing has happened in different places. What about you? What do you take away from this?
With this, it reminds me a lot about Nikola Tesla. So Nikola Tesla talked about getting his ideas from a higher consciousness.
Oh, interesting.
And this is all documented too. And the weird thing about it is the government actually made him look insane. And they accredited a lot of his own inventions to other inventors, which is a sad thing because he died essentially with no money, completely isolated, completely written off.
That sucks.
With that case, though, I never thought that it could be an actual object. It was always just like the idea of a thought coming into your mind from somewhere else. It reminds me of like the Muse, for example, where they talk about when certain people get into a creative process, they get ideas from somewhere out there. Is it in the cosmos? Is it something in a parallel universe?
Or a past life.
Exactly. What it seems like, though, and why I'm going into this is because this all seems like they're channeling something. So whether you're getting something from a higher consciousness, the cosmos, or whatever, maybe it's just the universe, it's channeling. I never thought that an object could be manifested that way. An idea seems much more believable because I know as a musician, I've gone into that state where I'm like, okay, I'm writing stuff. I'm like, wait, where's this coming from? This makes sense. And sometimes I think that painters, writers, they get into the same headspace. Perhaps it's along the same lines. You know, you're channeling something, you're tapping into something. We talked about consciousness earlier. Perhaps that's what it is. Perhaps she's tapped into a higher consciousness. If I was to ask Pachita a question, if you truly had the power to reshape organs and reality with your hands, do you think you're tapping into something beyond this world, like another dimension, or a code behind reality itself?
I would ask her who was the first crazy guy who volunteered to be a patient for your surgeries. That's probably a funny story.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe the guy lost a bet or something.
For sure.
Maybe he was drunk.
That'd be crazy. Picked him up at a bar or something?
Just like some guy on the street, random guy. Some random homeless guy on the street.
That's crazy.
Maybe, who knows? I think that's a good story, though. Whatever she says, it's probably a good story.
Definitely.
Well, I guess that's it for now. Huh? We covered quite a lot. That was a good topic. I love talking about this, and so do you.
And I love the twists and everything too, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, and let us know in the comments if you think this is a real case or if it's complete BS. And see you next time. Thank you for tuning in to the end. Follow and like for more videos about crazy stories and all completely real too. Crazy, unbelievable stories.
Au revoir.
Au revoir, Shoshana!